What's up, people? It's fall. It's like 70 degrees. And they just announced that Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States of America. It's a beautiful thing. However, they just announced, too, that the dude, Agent Orange, the Hitler impersonator, the best dictator of 2020 and beyond, is also going to disregard the election results. So he doesn't believe the election results. So listen. Let's celebrate. Let's acknowledge that we have made a great triumph, but it ain't over, y'all. It ain't over. True to form and true narcissistic fashion, the guy that resides in the White House is doing what he always does. So we still got a lot of time between now and January 21st, 22nd. I always forget the day of the inauguration. I know it floats. But listen, welcome to the Finance Rebel Show. Today is the Saturday wealthy conversation. All right. So listen, every Saturday at noon or noonish, I come in, and we have a great conversation about wealth. These last couple of weeks, we've been talking about Black wealth. Today is no different. Our main topic today is Black spending versus Black wealth. So during our Wealthy Wednesday segment, somehow we got on the topic of Black spending. And I asked, did you all want to talk about Black spending and research it and go through some of the numbers? And resoundingly, everybody said yes. They wanted to talk about it. So that's what we're going to talk about. However, we got the news in, so we got to talk about that, right? I'm not going to ignore it. Hey, Tiffany, thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. I appreciate you always coming through. Please share this out with anybody you think these conversations will be helpful to. All right. Noble Jules, how are you? Sharita, how are you? Welcome. Happy Saturday. But like I said, main topic is going to be Black spending versus Black wealth. But we all know the news just came in, right? The news just came in that guy with the orange wig just said that he's not going to get out the office. He doesn't believe it. But listen, beyond that, right? Look at the job that was done primarily by Black women. So let's give a round of applause to Black women. Shout out to Black women. The Black woman is God. That's what I always say. That's what I believe. If you look at Stacey Abrams down in Georgia, she did the damn thing. A lot of people talk trash about her. And I never understood why, but a lot of people talk trash about her because she took the money from Bloomberg. But look at what she did with that money. She flipped Georgia. Now I'm from Philly. And so Philly did the damn thing too, right? But I gotta give praise where praise is due, y'all. Gotta give praise where praise is due. Stacey Abrams did the damn thing in Georgia. Shout out to Stacey Abrams. Again, we got to start giving people their flowers while they're here and actually recognize the people who actually do the real work. A lot of times we focus on the folks who are the biggest narcissists, the biggest screamers, the biggest shouters, who have the biggest mouths. And we often ignore the folks who do the biggest amount of work. We need to change that. We need to change that in our culture. It's wrong. It's bad. It sends a bad example. It sends a bad signal. So again, shout out to Stacey Abrams because she did the damn thing. I mean, even when you look at the whole, what everybody's putting out there, the kind of HBCU Connect, y'all all know I'm an HBCU want to be, right? I wanted to go to an HBCU. Didn't work out. Maybe it'll happen before my life's out. But you got Stacey Abrams, who's a Spelman alum, right? I got to mention that because y'all know my wife's a Spelman alum, right? You got Kamala Harris, who went to HU, what many call the real HU, right? Howard. I don't want no smoke from my Hamptonites, though, right? She went to Howard. You got Keisha Bottoms, who's down in Atlanta as well, the mayor of Atlanta, who went to FAMU. So you have like a trifecta going on of HBCU greatness that just rung the bell and rung Trump's bell in the red state of Georgia, who's been red for so long, and they came through. Can't forget about Arizona, though, right? Traditionally, another red state came through. I guess all the John McCain people was like, hell no, this dude is disrespectful AF. So, they got him out of there as well. Wisconsin, Michigan, all these states that, I wouldn't say Michigan and Wisconsin were traditionally red, but they've gone red quite some time in these last couple of years. So, again, it's important. It's important that we recognize what's happened here. And as I always say, and I've been saying since the bull, the guy in the White House, got elected, it's a reflection on the overall intent and mindset of the country. 50% of the country is racist, right? And we still see that today. However, we have more folks come out, show out with the ballot to show that this country is starting to shift. Again, y'all know I'm not a super patriot, but I'm always concerned about where black people are, no matter what country it is. So let's just check in with some of the folks real quick. My brother Don Johnson always comes through. I appreciate you, Don. JT Coins, how are you? Good day. Hello, all. Yep. Welcome to you. Tiffany Thompson, how are you? Afternoon to you. Hope you ate breakfast. Yeah, I did. The wife got me this like I don't even know what to call it. It's like a smoothie, a fruit smoothie. It was very nutritious and it was delicious. JT Coin says, shout out to Stacey Abrams. Absolutely. All right, Mosquito says, good morning, Kamara. Remember, Stacey Abrams was on my board of directors, not elections, but board of directors. Yes, it was. Miss Edith was speaking about a topic or a question I posed the other day. This is a thought experiment, right? One of the things that the black community needs, no matter what president is in office, is more unity, more organization, more coordination, more mobilization. And I said, well, what would it look like if the black community actually had a board of directors to help us kind of usher that through and create that? Because, you know, everybody likes to say, oh, the black community isn't a monolith. We don't all vote the same. And I always say, no shit, Sherlock. But guess what? No other people is a monolith either, right? But they always figure out how to do things, how to get things going. And it's funny, as I'm preparing for my show tomorrow, the Black Ball Project, 7 p.m., y'all check that out. Our conversation will be, where do we go from here? Courtney, who was on earlier, the Ivy Investor, shout out to her, suggested that. And we all agreed to do that. But I started reading Martin Luther King's Where Do We Go From Here, Community or Chaos? And it's funny, some of the same concerns that we talk about now, they were talking about back then. They were talking about black unity. They were talking about group voting. You know, I tell everybody you should read The Ballad of the Bullet by Malcolm X. I feel that is the black political Bible, you know. But so many of those thoughts were had back in the 60s, back in the civil rights era, are still the same concerns today. So it behooves us, it makes sense for us to really go back and take a look at some of these things that they were thinking to the prior year, yesteryear, and see if we can apply some of that stuff today. We can't forget our history, folks. We can't forget our history. Mainstream society tells us to. We absolutely should rebel against forgetting our history, forgetting our ancestors. They are precious. They are important. All right. But I was listening to, again, where do we go from here? And again, when they dropped that point about we need black unity, and it was specifically, it was a conversation between Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and it was another person talking about injecting the Black Power slogan into the overall movement. It was very, very eye-opening. I mean, not that I didn't know before, but it's always something else to really hear it. So Joe Brown Construction, thanks for joining. I love editing stuff. Thanks for joining. Mid-Atlantic, how are you? Welcome. Sweet Red 21, thanks for joining. Miss Mitney, thanks for joining. I see all the regulars are in the house. Miss FAMU, oh, I just talked about FAMU. How are you? Kay Landers, how are you? Welcome. Negotiate this. Welcome. Leo Lady, oh yes, Pittsburgh, you are right. Pittsburgh did the damn thing too. We have a saying in Pennsylvania that Pennsylvania is Philadelphia and Pittsburgh with Mississippi in the middle. And if you look at the voting, you see why we say that. Because all the voting in between shows that it's red. But, you know, last point before we move on to our main topic for the day, or for our regular programming for the day. This is a watershed moment, y'all. This is definitely something historic to think about. The black vote brought this in. Now, you know, I talk a lot about the black vote not being there the way it should be. But I hope folks see the power of the black vote and how important it can be. And we continue to show up and show out, because it will be a tool for our liberation. Not all voting, right? Not just voting, right? Let me clarify. Not just voting, right? Voting, again, is one tool, but it's a very powerful and a very mighty tool that we should be using to negotiate and position ourselves to get better quality of life as we negotiate and position with our elected officials. Everything is a negotiation, people. Frederick Douglass says nothing exceeds power but a demand. So how are we showing that we have the power to demand anything? So I just keep that in mind. Keep an eye out on that. Think about that. Ruminate on that, y'all. It really makes a difference. And I know a lot of folks that run around saying voting don't matter. The system isn't made for us. All right, well, cool. But we here. So what are we going to do? Are we mass migrating? I don't think so. So if we're not mass migrating, what fights are we putting up? How are we unifyingly going against the system that traditionally treats Black folks badly? All right. And again, it's not just voting, it's not just politics, but it is an important piece of the pie. All right. So, all right, let's get to it, y'all. Tawanda B01-001, how are you? Born to Fly. How you doing? Miss Adrian just joined. Welcome. I am broadcasting live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same damn time. And I'm a little happy, y'all. I'm a little happy. So I hope you all are happy. Like I said, it's a 70-degree day. And we got good news today. So let's rejoice. Let's be glad. And let's get to this money. All right. So stock market. Anybody's paying attention to the stock market? Everybody was fearful that stock market was not going to do good under a Joe Biden leadership. Well, the stock market said that ain't true and been saying that all week, right? I tell people all the time, the stock market is probably the greatest reflection of human emotion ever seen in the world, right? So stock market's up this week. Stock market represented by the S&P 500 closed at 3509. 3509. Let me find my sheet from last week. Last week, it closed out at 3269, right? So we saw roughly a 7% increase in the stock market. Year to date, the S&P 500 is up 6.3%. Again, 6.3%, right? Last week, it was up only 1.21%, right? So we started to see that after last week. We had about a 5% dip last week. This week, we got about a 7% jump. So we got back all that gain that we lost last week, this week, right? And an election week where everybody, all the pundits, right? I tell you what I feel about these pundits, right? All these pundits were like, no, the stock market's going to fall. Joe Biden's tax bill sucked. By the way, we did a Joe Biden and Donald Trump tax plan review last week. You should probably watch it. Not probably, you should watch it. You should watch it and see what the differences are, just to be educated as you go forward. But Joe Biden's plan was definitely better for the average American, while Trump's plan was definitely better for the wealthy American, right? So we got the 1% versus the 99%. All right. Oil closed at 37.49, up about 6% again from last week. Y'all noticing I've been talking to y'all about correlation these last couple of weeks. I want y'all, as y'all become more mature in your investing pursuits and your investing journeys, I want you to pay attention to correlation. All right, it's important. I don't see anybody talking about correlation, by the way. All right. Oil's still down 33.8% year to date. All right, so oil's still down 33.8% year to date. All right, and gold jumped. Gold jumped through the roof this week. All right, $1,951. Gold's up 4.53%. All right, so we had a pretty tumultuous week, right? I mean, that's good. Oh, by the way, gold is up 26.1% year to date. 26%. Again, I have a feeling, though, a sneaky suspicion, once we get past all the court stuff with the bull, right? Once we get past all that, I think we'll see gold fall. Ben Hatchett, you know what? I'm glad you said that, Ben. By the way, on election day, it was a great referendum on how states felt about weed, about marijuana, about cannabis. And we saw my sister state to the east, New Jersey, put into law that cannabis will be legal for folks over, I want to say 21. So we saw weed go up as well. I'll be honest, y'all. Again, this is not a recommendation. This is not this is not investment advice. But when I look at overall at the weed landscape, there's a lot of companies that are pretty good. I would look at the weed ETF, as opposed to just buying one weed stock versus the other. Buy the basket. They got the majority of them in there. And then that way you could take advantage of the one that actually wins, right? Because at some point, some or a few are going to fall out. So in this case, I think the weed play is actually in the ETF. I'm not going to give y'all the ETF name because it is not an investment advice. Y'all can look it up though. It's a couple of them. So check those out. Check those out also. All right. There was another story I wanted to talk about before we got to the main topic. All right. So I don't know if y'all know this. I am a major Wesley Snipes fan. Wesley Snipes, in my opinion, is a great actor. He's a great martial artist. And he infuses culture into everything he does. But there was a story in here. I'm going to pull the story up that came out this week, and I want to talk about it real quick. But he was talking about his tax issue he had a couple of years ago when he was found guilty of tax evasion. Now, I'm talking about the merits of the case, y'all, not necessarily people that he mentioned. Right? I told y'all I ain't saying no names no more, but the boy is mentioned in his mouth. Now y'all know who the boy is. I'm from Philly, so that's a little Philly twang for y'all. All right. So Wesley said, and this is in the source. You also know I'm a major hip hop fan. So Wesley says Wesley Snipes reflects on jail time for tax evasion, double standard for Trump's tax-related crimes. All right. Dang, I just broke my promise. I said I wasn't going to say his name. B Barbie 2, how you doing? Welcome. The Boss Moms coach, welcome. Miss Mitney says her stocks are up. Congratulations. Send me a couple of dollars. Let me hold something. Unapologetically Sharon. Hey Sharon, how you doing? Prez J2, how you doing? Welcome. Happy Saturday. But you know, again, Wesley is saying that he's seen a double standard for tax evasion. And so I always see a lot of chatter around taxes, how people feel taxes are unjust. People feel that taxes are not appropriate or unconstitutional, whatever you want to label it. Everybody who goes that route, though, from what I can gather, winds up in jail. All right. So there's a black lady who's a former ex-IRS agent who talks about the IRS and how the IRS is collecting money for the Federal Reserve, yada, yada, yada. Guess what? She went to jail. She's talking about how taxes are not relevant, you know, are not constitutional, but she went to jail. So I never see any of those folks put that up at first. Listen, I went to jail. I went to jail for this. So listen, if y'all think y'all want to go to jail, cool. I ain't with it. I don't think black people need to take penitentiary chances. Well, actually, you really don't go to the penitentiary for tax evasion. You go to the federal camps typically. But I don't think we should take boot camp chances, right, with taxes. It's not worth it because there's so many other things you need to be thinking about, i.e. your family, i.e. who's going to pay for their bills if you are away. And is this money really worth going away for? Now, I'll be the first one to tell y'all, taxes are probably going to be the greatest expense you ever have in your lifetime. Greatest. When you look at federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes, gas tax, cell phone tax, real estate tax, all kinds of taxes. There's so many taxes that it's crazy. And many times it's north of 50% of your overall income over time. So, you know, I tell folks to think about that. But just going through what Wesley said, you know, I wanted to talk about that because, again, I love Wesley, but I think it's bad. I think it sends a bad message. I don't think it's the right example. And so I wanted to talk about it. So Wesley Snipes served 2.5 years and was released in 2013, according to the New York Times, and only paid, and then they said Trump only paid $750 in taxes. All right. So y'all tell me what y'all think this is as we go along in this story. And so it says, although POTUS didn't pay taxes in the 10 or the past 15 years, he's not getting charged for any related crimes. Meanwhile, Wesley was sentenced to 3 years for misdemeanor convictions. All right. And then, you know, somebody asked Wesley, Why did this happen? Because everybody is infatuated with the $750. And so Wesley is quoted saying that, well, that's an easy answer. He's the president of the United States. He's the president of the United States. Sorry, y'all. My son was calling me. He's the president of the United States, told the Guardian, but he got away with it when he wasn't president. That's not rocket science. It's not what you know. It's who you know. Okay. And so then he goes on to say that the laws say you pay for people who are experts to manage your business affairs. Yet I was included as a co-conspirator with the lawyers and the accountants. Now, this is rare and very unusual. All right. So then he goes on to say, he's a better person now that he went to jail. He spent a lot of time meditating, getting centered, getting back to where he is and who he's supposed to be, getting closer to God. And I think that's great. However, all right, there's a couple of things I want to point out. First one he said was that the law says you pay for people who are experts. The law don't say that. Ignorance of the law is no exception. Y'all keep that in mind. Ignorance of the law is no exception. Yes, you are to pay professionals to help you with these more convoluted financial and complex financial issues. However, it doesn't say that you pay professionals, right, to manage your business affairs. Yet, so let me go back. Just want to be clear with y'all, right? So the law says you pay for people who are experts to manage your business affairs. Yet I was included as a co-conspirator with the lawyers and the accountants. Now, he was included with the co-conspirators with the lawyers and accountants because his lawyers and accountants are what we call tax dodgers. They were tax dodgers. These are the people who say that we shouldn't have to pay taxes. And listen, they may be right, but I know this. The 16th, I want to say it's the 16th Amendment. I don't know if Courtney's still on. She's the lawyer I lean on. But the 16th Amendment says that Congress has the right to enact any laws that aren't necessarily laid out, right? So it's the act of Congress to do this. And then, you'll have all these other folks that say, well, the Rockefellers invented taxes to pay for the Federal Reserve. Listen, all that's cool. But how is that going to help us move forward? That's always my question. Are we going to overthrow government at this very moment, at this juncture? No. So it behooves us to adhere to the laws of the land and keep ourselves out of these penitentiaries and camps. I tell people all the time that I do not want to be issued a federal polo shirt. I do not want to wear an orange jumpsuit, federally issued orange sweatsuit. By the way, I don't think I would look good in an orange sweatsuit at all. I do look good in my orange sweaters, but I don't want any of that smoke. I don't want none of that business. Now, here's the thing with Wesley's issues and the orange dude. They're totally different. Wesley didn't file his tax returns. The dude did file his tax returns, right? Wesley Snipes, and I'm trying to find a court case. But Wesley Snipes made like $3,800 million. Wesley Snipes made $38 million prior to this conviction. He made $38 million. And guess what? He didn't file his tax returns. He didn't file. So you can blame your counsel. I get it. You can blame your accountants. I get it. But part of this, y'all got to start being proactive about y'all wealth, y'all accumulation. Wesley was in a position, right, that was like no others. When he did Blade, stop the pressures, y'all. Like, he was the bull. He was the man, right? Not the bull we talking about in the White House, but he's the actual real bull. Like, that dude. He was that dude. And I'm giving y'all this Philly slang for a reason, because Philly came through. But, we have to be sure not to mix apples with oranges. And that's what he did. So let me do this real quick. Let me find something else, because y'all know I like the facts. I try to stick to nothing but the facts. Because, a lot of folks like to just kind of whiff off and scream out what they think is real. And it's not. All right. So, right. So Wesley Snipes was acquitted of felony federal tax fraud and conspiracy charges, but convicted of failing to file tax returns from 1999 to 2004. He faced up to 3 years. All right. And so here is an article. I'm going to share this article. Just want to make sure that we got it all together. That breaks it down. And this is a young lady who is actually in my area called the tax lady, but she writes a lot for Forbes. But her stuff is usually dead on. So Kelly Phillips Herb. Here we go. All right, y'all, we're going to get to the main topic shortly, but in the interim, while you are all waiting and we're going over this tax case, do me a favor, share this out with anybody that this could be helpful for, impactful for, enlightening for. So, we can help make money more simple. That's why I'm here, to try to make money matters more simple and to help everybody elevate their overall financial IQ. So these magazine sites don't like ad blockers. All right, so let's see here. All right, so Snipes' tax troubles date back to 2006. Mind you, so he got more. All right, so he was indicted of attempting to claim nearly $12 million in fraudulent tax refunds and not filing any tax returns for several years. His first lawyer, Billy Martin, said in a statement, "We believe the evidence in this case will show he has been the victim of unscrupulous tax advice, and this trial will help vindicate him." So it sounds like the people who was helping him before had him filing his taxes and paying his taxes. And then he wanted to be slick, and he switched teams. All right. So Snipes pleaded not guilty on all counts, and that matter went to trial in 2008. All right, remember 2008. Despite a lengthy list of potential witnesses, including Muhammad Ali, Spike Lee, and Barbara Walters, and claims that his defense could not take a month, and Snipes' team rusted after less than an hour. So, and I'm not laughing at Wesley, Mr. Snipes. I'm laughing at the idea that you think you only have to present an hour's worth of defense to the federal government, who has a 92% conviction rate, right? So that tells me they didn't take this serious at all. So he was negligent in filing his taxes, and then the defense was negligent in doing the defense. And I think that's bad. That's bad. Now, I'm sure Wesley probably listened to, again, his advisors, his counsel. But listen, we always have to be in the driver's seat when it comes to our stuff. At the end of the day, the prosecution, however, presented evidence to show that Snipes avoided paying tax. IRS agent Stuart Stitch testified that Snipes earned almost $40 million. So this guy's a $40 million IRS tax non-filer, right? So you just asked him for trouble, right? The government ain't dumb. They notice when you ball a little harder. They know your stuff ain't in order. Again, the whole situation with Robert Smith, we talked about Robert Smith a little bit when he got in trouble. Many people were saying that he got in trouble because he gave money to Morehouse folks. No, he got in trouble for some other stuff. And listen, anytime you're making big money, the government knows. For the most part, they know. They know. Snipes was acquitted of felony federal, right? I read that to you all already. But he didn't file from 1999 to 2004. He faced up to 3 years. He did about, what did I say, two and a half, 3 years? After his conviction, Snipes immediately promised an appeal, which he delivered more than once. So he appealed more than once, claiming that other pleadings and filings that he sentenced were unreasonable, that his defense was lacking, and that he was not able to get a fair trial in Ocala, Florida, which Snipes had previously referred to as hotbed of KKK activity. Yeah, that is true. Y'all should look up Ocala, Florida, and look up some of the shenanigans and tragedies that happened in Ocala, Florida. It's very sad. We talk a lot about Tulsa and Greenwood, but Ocala and some of the stuff that happened in Florida is crazy. Okay, so while 7 times, Snipes again appealed his case, this time to the U.S. Supreme Court on January 6, 2011. Snipes petitioned for certiorari, that's a legal term, was denied, which means that the court declined to hear the matter. So they wouldn't even hear the matter. And the Supreme Court won't hear a matter if they feel it is not worthy of discussion. So Snipe was released from prison on April 2nd, 2013. Let me put this back on the screen for y'all. And he went back to work shortly. All right, so he got back to work. But listen, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. It's important to note, this is directly from the article, it's important to note that serving time for a tax crime doesn't wipe out your tax debt. Y'all hear that? Serving time for a tax crime doesn't wipe out your tax debt. So when Snipes was released from prison, he still owed millions to the IRS. Snipe claimed he didn't have the cash and filed an offer in compromise. So an offer in compromise is what you hear many of these quote unquote commercials. If you owe $10,000 or more, we can put you in the Fresh Start program, right? You got to be really careful with those. And they'll say they'll wipe out your debt. It's not that easy. All right. So an OIC or offer in compromise allows you to resolve your tax obligations for less than the full amount you owe. Again, it's a process, y'all. You generally submit an OIC because one of three things apply. You don't believe you owe the tax. 2, you can't pay the tax. Or 3, there is no doubt that you owe the tax, nor that you could pay it, but an exceptional circumstance exists, like really exceptional circumstance. So according to court documents, Snipes made a cash OIC of $842,000, less than 4% of his total underlying liability, claiming, among other things, that he did not have the means to pay the debt. The offer was rejected. All right. So when y'all hear these commercials, when they say, if you owe more than $10,000, we can wipe it out with our Fresh Start program, they're not exactly telling the truth, folks. All right. By the way, those companies will take your money and they won't necessarily deliver anything to you either. All right. Tax court cases generally proceed reasonably quickly, at least compared to other federal court cases. However, this one dragged on for years. All right. And so Snipes filed another petition on November 5th, 2015, and it was scheduled for December 5th, 2016. So he's been fighting this. He believes he's in the right. In October 2016, the judge remanded the matter back to the IRS appeal office. Those discussions weren't productive, and by January 18th of 2018, a new trial date had been set for May 14th. A few motions and a few new attorneys later, the matter went to trial, right? So he's still fighting, respecting for that. Judge Kerrigan upheld the IRS decision to reject the offer, right? Judge Kerrigan found that Snipes failed to provide bona fide documentation to prove his assets and financial condition. She weighted his offer against what the IRS believed to be his reasonable collection potential and determined that the IRS did not abuse discretion when rejecting the offer. How much of a discrepancy existed again? So how much of a discrepancy existed? At the time the petition was filed, Snipes owed approximately $23.5 million. It's worth noting that the 2002 debt of 1.4 was eventually paid off. So he owed back taxes back to 2002. All right, so Snipes offered to settle for less than $850,000. The IRS initially concluded that Snipes' reasonable collection potential based on his assets and income was much higher, roughly $17.4 million. Despite that finding, Snipes did not increase his offer. So he's playing hardball. All right. So I don't want to bore you all. I know we can't be here all day long. The IRS eventually rejected Snipes, so he offered another $842,000. The IRS rejected that. The judge found no such abuse, right? Because he didn't file. And he didn't pay his taxes. How you make $40 million and you don't want to pay your taxes? All right. Just trying to get to the final thing. I mean, I know we all love to, worship celebrities, right? I do think that's one of the problems in the Black community, too much celebrity worship. But we got to start really digging into the meat of these subjects to really get down to the nitty gritty, y'all, because all that glitter ain't gold. All that glitters ain't gold. All right. As for Snipes, in addition to real estate holdings, the IRS claims Snipes has interest in. He's still working in Hollywood. According to IMDb, Snipes has a few ongoing concerns, including a movie, Dolomite, which was hilarious, and some other things. Let's see. So basically, the IRS rejected it. Sounds like Snipes still owes 23 M's, right? Prince Adeyemi, forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize. For PB, how are you? I live on Sundays. How are you? The Fit Queen B, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Kang 850. Shoebox Cupcakes, what's up, girl? The People's Esquire, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Trader Elizabeth, how are you? And I am Chanel, how are you? So listen, he still owes the IRS 23 million. That's a lot of bread. That's why I always tell people to file your taxes on time. Now, he's a big cat. He's a big whale. And he had the means and he didn't want to do it. Here's the thing I want y'all all to remember. Historically, now this might change, just to make that point, but historically, the IRS attacks people who have lower income means. They attack the lower middle class and poor folks way more than they attack or audit people of means or who have money or the 1%. So I need y'all to keep that in mind. If we're playing a strategic game, or we're looking at the wealth game, we don't have no time to be dealing with no lawsuits. We don't have no time to be dealing with no audits. And by the way, you can get audited randomly, right? So it behooves you to do things right? So you may get audited, you may not get audited, but you never know. And when you go through it, it's a pain in the ass. All right. So just keep that in mind. Angela Williams, how are you? Pretty Kelly, how are you? So keep that in mind, y'all, because again, nobody has time for that. We want to stay focused on our objective, to build wealth, to leave generational wealth, to create a better lifestyle for our family, to increase the quality of living for our family while we're here and while we're not here. If your attention and your focus is divided and you're fighting with the IRS, how many ways does that impact your life? Does it impact you mentally? Does it impact you emotionally? Does it impact you financially? So that's 3 strikes against you right there, right? You gotta stop playing with these alphabet people, man. They don't mean us no good. And by the way, I will say this, and I don't want y'all to be confused. The government workers there aren't there to kind of make your life terrible, right? If you follow the rules and you get audited and you follow the rules and you can lay out everything, you typically don't have any problems. The people that have problems are the people that can't document what they spent their money on or where the money came from. They can't actually present it in a neat and orderly fashion. They can't do any of that, right? If you're a business owner, it makes sense to do good bookkeeping. It makes sense to really strategize and think about it. I am just Dana. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. At 4 Strings, how are you? So it makes sense to do all those things in advance. If you just want to be everyday average individual, come home, go to work, come home, that's cool too. No judgment here, right? That's a little bit easier. The life isn't as complicated. But all of these folks are saying they want to be wealthy. All of these folks are saying they want to be rich. The IRS comes along with that 9 times out of 10 at some point or some way. And if it's not the IRS, it might be some state or local agency that might choose to audit you. All right. So that took a little bit longer than I wanted to go, but I thought it was important to talk about because Wesley just made that statement this week. And I wanted to talk about it because, again, he was mixing apples with oranges, right? Yeah, we know Trump stuff is definitely all about the shenanigans, but he filed his taxes. So he at least cleared one barrier. He filed them. Now, do I believe there's some unsavory things, uncolorful things going on with his taxes? Absolutely. That's what I believe. That's allegedly what I believe. But a lot of times we like to make comparisons. And I get it. And a lot of times it's right? We want to say, well, black folks can do this and white folks can do this. There's a black American, there's a white American. Again, that's right. However, in this context is everything. You didn't even do the prerequisite. You didn't do the bare minimum, right? So now when you want to make this case for racist treatments, by the way, there are some racist treatments in the IRS. Just to be clear, I like to give y'all everything, right? Be very objective, be very forthcoming, be very transparent. But you didn't do the first thing. So it's almost like when you got a child and the child asks, well, can you go outside? And you say no. And he says, well, Johnny can go outside. And you say, well, that's at Johnny's house. That's number one. Number two, you call Johnny's mom and find out what Johnny did. Well, Johnny cleaned his room. Johnny did his homework. You ain't do none of those. You didn't clean your room. You didn't do your homework. So you didn't clear the first barrier, the first hurdle. You didn't do the things that like keep you in good graces. Had he filed his taxes, this wouldn't have went to that. This wouldn't have went that way. Had he kept up with the taxes, it wouldn't have went that way. 54 Dragon, how are you? He would have more than likely, he would have been able to avoid jail time. To me, time is worth more than money, y'all. Time is the asset, is the prime asset, is the key. That's the golden goose, time. Because as long as you got time, you can do things. But if you don't have time, you can't. Sam loves music. How you doing, Sam? BTC Investments FX, how are you? So, all right, let's talk about what we came here to talk about, y'all. Black spending versus black wealth. That's what we came here to talk about today. On Wednesday, y'all told me y'all wanted to talk about that. So let's get to it. So some of y'all were in shock when I said what I said about black spending being roughly 1.3 trillion. Give me 1 second. I should have had this prepped for y'all at the very, very start. But like I told y'all, almost every other year, Nielsen does a study on black spending. All right. And so this is the study. This is from 2019. So the Diverse Intelligence Series is in the bag. Black consumers' path to purchase. All right. So this here is talking about what corporations do to get black people to spend, what black folks like when they spend, and all these things. Hey, Shiz, how you doing? So, I think this is important for us to understand, right? Again, I'm not trying to poo-poo the news of today. I think it's great, but we also had to be mindful that the work is not over. We still got work to do, and a lot of that work is going to fall on us. I'm trying to get this in presentation mode. I usually don't use Adobe, but y'all can see it. Y'all see it. All right. So that's the preface. So I'm going to read to you the executive summary. All right. And again, this is from Nielsen. Nielsen is the people who collects the stats on a lot of media. And they do one of these every year, almost every other year, on African-American spending, which is 1.3 trillion annually. By the way, if anybody is interested in this, you are watching the Finance Rebel Show. All right, we are here every Saturday. Every Saturday we're here. We do our wealthy conversations. And so we do our wealthy conversations because I'll be honest, I'm looking and hoping that we can elevate the money conversation in the black community. I'm looking and hoping to make money and money topics a bit more easier to understand and digest. And I'm looking for us to actually start implementing some of these wealth creation tools, whether it be starting a business or investing or getting into real estate or just getting a raise at your job or promotion at your job. There's nothing wrong with working a job either, folks. There are a lot of billionaires that came from working a job. So I think we all have to be mindful. And again, context is key, y'all. So let's keep that in order. So going back to the presentation here. Okay. So the executive summary says African Americans' influence on mainstream culture is clear. 54% of African Americans are 34 years old or younger, meaning the majority of blacks have grown up in the digital age. And these powerful consumers have naturally incorporated their tech affinity into their entire shopping journey. This pursuit of the latest things drives many steps of the African American consumer journey, from how they consume media to become aware of trends and products to how they use e-commerce on multiple devices while still demanding a dynamic in-store experience. All right. And so that's what they are looking to do. So Black Americans are 48 million strong. So there's 48 million Black folks in the country, y'all, with nearly 25 million being millennial age or younger as of 2018, with the median age of 32. Black Americans are just approaching their peak earning years, right? But are already dominating industries from music to fashion and many others, and creating apps, digital spaces to serve their own unique needs when the opportunity demands it. In a world bombarded by constant new media options and technologies, companies that want African-American consumer dollars must understand what most influences these consumers and how they influence others on their path to purchase. Developing authentic strategies that involve from listening to Black consumers' needs and demands is not only the best way, but the only way for brands to realize the powerful growth opportunities ahead. All right. So then it just, you see it on the screen right there. It lists out all the things that they kind of cover, from tech affinity to omnichannel. Omnichannel just means every channel that they possibly can advertise on, from social media superstars. They're talking about influencer marketing, affinity for apps, Black radio, music dominant listening, receptive to advertising, buying local, and concerns about environment and food safety, and shifting geographies. Texas taking the lead, right? So we're talking about Black folks migrating across the country. We're seeing a lot of Black folks moving to Texas, like Houston. We're seeing a lot of Black folks in the country moving to Atlanta, right? We call that Wakanda West. So we see a lot of this going on. So that's going to shift culture. That's going to shift money. That's going to shift wealth overall. You know what? Let me read this real quick. Shifting geographies, Texas takes the leads. Black buying power continues to grow from $320 billion in 1990 to $1.3 trillion in 2018. Between 2000 and 2018, Black buying power rose 114%. Again, 114% compared to an 89% increase in white buying power over that same time period. Texas now has the largest population of African Americans and tops the nation of African American buying power. All right, so the Black money is in Texas, y'all. All right, so here's just a table of contents. I'm not going to bore you all with trying to read this here. There's a few key points. All right. 61% of African Americans agree they're fascinated by new tech, right? So that's why many of us love to go buy the new iPhones. I am one of them. However, my iPhone is a tax write-off. So I actually hate the idea when people say people are wasting money on the iPhone. I'm not wasting money on the iPhone. If you get an iPhone, you don't have to waste money on it. You can use it for making money. You can use it for your business. Right now, I am broadcasting to IG. Hey, Gloria. Hey, cousin. Kaizen Investors on. They're all on. I'm able to broadcast these communications, broadcast my business, broadcast any of my offerings using my phone. I'm using my phone right now to broadcast to Instagram. It's a business function. All right. So then here is just kind of a breakout of African American device ownership. And I will put a link to this in the comments, or not the comments, in the description of the video on YouTube and on Facebook. Now, I find this interesting, right? So they talk about weekly time spent on devices, adult users age 18 and older. This tells us something, y'all. Total use of television, 50.38 hours. I believe these are hours, versus the total population, 39 hours and 6 minutes. So this is every week. Live plus time shifted TV. So that's like on-demand stuff. 44 hours versus the population, the rest of the population, which is 33 hours. All right, TV connected devices. They have here Blu-ray, game console, radio. All right, but let's think about this, y'all. We are watching TV at a higher clip than the total population. What do y'all think about that? Miss Ohio, how you doing? What do y'all think about that? I want to see y'all comments in the chat. Black folks are watching more TV than the rest of the nation. What do you think about that? Chime in. I want to hear what you have to say. All right, so we spend a lot of time on the radio. Looks like 13 hours versus 13 hours and 41 minutes versus 13 hours and 6 minutes for the total population. Time on the internet. 6 hours. 6 hours versus 7.2, or excuse me, 7 hours and 12 minutes. Social media networking or social networking is 1 hour 28 versus the nation is 2 hours and 7 minutes. Video on computer is 2 hours and 40 minutes versus 2 hours and 28 minutes. App smartphones, we're on our smartphones for 29 hours versus 26 hours. All right. That's very, very interesting. Rich Money 980, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And then we talk about app/web tablets, 13 hours versus 12 hours. Okay, so Leo Lady, you're guilty. But what do you think about that though? When if black folks are watching TV at a larger clip than the total population? What do y'all think about that? I am interested. Leo Lady says guilty. I'm waiting on y'all. Chime in. All right, Miss Edith says, my family lives in Houston. They want me to relocate. However, on election day, the militia patrol with guns to prevent citizens from voting. I also remember Jasper, Texas, dragged and beheaded. Yep. Miss Edith says, I'm watching TV to de-escalate or de-stress. De-stress from COVID at my job. I get it. Pretty Kelly says, any stats on reading books? That's a great question, Kelly. I didn't see one initially, but as we go back through it, I will definitely keep an eye out for that. That's a great question, Kelly. So there were a few more things. Oh, this is interesting. Y'all get a kick out of this. But looking deeper to the different types of apps that Black folks use and categories, the highest preference differential for African Americans is the finance app category. Cash App. Y'all know I talk about Cash App a lot. So Cash App by Square is the leader with 35% market share, followed by PayPal, Mobile Cash, the Capital One mobile app. More importantly, the Cash App by Square is the app that African Americans use by the largest margins of compared to general population. Why do y'all think Black folks use Cash App more than anybody else? Part of the reason is because many of us are unbanked. What does that mean when I say unbanked? Stand-up guy, how are you? Yeah, Miss Ohio said that Cash App is the new bank. Now, listen, you got to be careful with Cash App because there are a lot of Cash App scams going on out there in the world. However, I have to applaud Cash App and Square because when they saw the stimulus money coming out and they found that a lot of people didn't have bank accounts to receive the stimulus. By the way, you have till November 21st to apply for stimulus if you did not get it. But they retooled, they pivoted a little bit and they made it easy. Speaking of Square with Cash App, they made it easy for people to use Cash App as a bank, right? Because they gave you a routing number and account number to use it for direct deposit, to get your stimulus check, to use a lot of things. And they'll give you a card with it as well. So, Cash App did some things, y'all, to get great positioning in the overall marketplace. All right. The number one app we use for entertainment as it relates to apps is YouTube, only second by Netflix. Okay. And then multi-category apps that we use are things like Amazon is number one, Walmart's number two, and Groupon is number three. People still use Groupon? Now, leading the nation, we use the Walmart app more than the overall nation or the overall population in the nation. Blacks over 18. We use Groupon more than anyone else too, right? So 24% versus 18%. Now, Amazon, we are only 46%, while the overall nation is 49%. But that's still, that shows a lot. That shows a lot that we are doing a lot in the shopping arena. So again, this is interesting. Aspiration in the African American consumer journey. So they're saying here that Black folks likes to see aspirational. They want to see people doing good. The availability of Black-owned brands and products that serve the African American community is profoundly impacting the African American path to purchase. Melissa Butler took her line of custom-made vegan lipsticks, never heard of that before, and bright colors onto ABC Shark Tank in 2015, and she was laughed out the room. However, her persistence has since paid off. And the lip bar, it's a lip bar. Okay. The lip bar launched on Target's website in 2016, in stores in February of 2018, and is now expanding into products for the entire face and all the faces. The lip bar is now a multi-million-dollar company with products in 450 Target stores. A success story for sure. All right. Fenty Beauty by Rihanna is an African-American owned brand. I don't know that to be factual, y'all. Fenty Beauty, again, by Rihanna, is an African-American owned brand that successfully markets and sells a global lineup of shades designed for all types of consumers, inclusive of all skin tones. In fact, the line is poised to launch in Asia in September 2019. Remember, I told you all the study came out in 2019. Fenty Beauty, which is part of the LVMH Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton Empire Kendo division, pursued a diverse consumer market using social media as a primary means of promotion. The brand generated $500 million in sales. So I want to talk about this real quick. We always have to be cautious about wording. Reading is paramount, y'all. Again, reading is paramount. Now, what did they just say? They said Fenty Beauty by Rihanna is an African-American owned brand. And listen, for the record, I love Rihanna. I just want y'all to know something, right? And I said this before when we're talking about Black Banks and Killer Mike. My goal is never to go after anybody, right? I'm just looking at the facts and what's presented. So I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm not trying to disgrace anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I ain't trying to take nobody's cookout card, all right? However, there are things that jump out to me that make me wonder and that make me say, And that statement right there makes me say, So it says Fenty Beauty by Rihanna is an African-American owned brand that successfully markets and sells a global lineup of shades designed for all types of consumers, inclusive of all skin tones. In fact, the line is poised to launch in Asia in September 2019. Fenty Beauty, which is part of LVMH. I want y'all to look up LVMH. Major Italian, it's either Italian or French company. It was definitely in Europe. All right, but clearly they have some ownership. Now, again, not trying to throw shade, I will only consider this brand to be African-American owned or Black owned. I'm not a fan of the term African-American, if y'all have noticed over the years. But I wouldn't consider this a Black company unless Rihanna and her investors, whoever she's with, has at least 51% ownership. At least 51% ownership. If it's beneath 51% ownership, they're part owners, but I personally wouldn't call it 51%. All right. So I think that's important because we have a lot of people that think we have Black faces who are ambassadors of these brands and they have ownership and they don't, i.e. Ciroc. Puffy does not own Ciroc. He gets a great check for it. Now, again, if we want to get into the nuance, we want to get into the details of the thing, it actually might be better for Puffy to not own Ciroc and just be a brand ambassador because of the level of cash flow I'm sure he generates, because he ratcheted that brand up 1,000,000%, right? So again, no shade, just looking at it from an objective standpoint. And there's nothing wrong with being an ambassador and making money from income. There's also nothing wrong with having equity, ownership at whatever level. But, when we're starting talking about positioning and saying these things are brands owned by Black folks, we got to look at that, because who's going to benefit more? Do Black folks benefit more from the LVMH brand and their ownership or Rihanna's ownership in LVMH, or Rihanna's ownership, in Fenty, or do white folks benefit more? I would venture to say in that one, I think Rihanna probably ventures to benefit. I would venture to say LVMH benefits more. And again, no shade to Rihanna. I think Rihanna's super dope. And I think it's a great position, but we got to start becoming more sophisticated when we start to look at these things, y'all, because there's some folks, right? There are social media brands selling kente cloth to Black folks, and they ain't nowhere near Africa, Jamaica, the Caribbean, or the United States, or anywhere else the diaspora falls. But they are pimping us. They are pimping us. Okay, Miss Ohio says it's mutually beneficial. Leo Lady says she's part owner, not single owner. Now, I asked y'all another question before. I ain't getting none of this. I bring up Rihanna and Fenty, and oh man, the ladies come out. I asked y'all, what did y'all think about the TV usage? I think I got like one comment. It's all good. Leo Lady says she loves good music, and I use my phone computer to access social media, i.e. your programs, as it relates to Black watching higher level. The millennial, Gen Z are a large portion of viewers. Yes, they are. Yes. Millennials are here, y'all, and y'all got to stop hating on these millennials. They just need a hug. They just need some love. That's about it. I am Brand Savant. Oh, that's Ryan. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Correct. I don't know if I corrected you, Leo Lady. Miss Ohio says my TV has been unplugged for 6 years. Okay. We got super nerds on deck. What you do with all that time? Miss Ohio, you read a lot? Melody Out, and how are you? So let me get through a couple of comments before I go through this a little bit deeper. And I can't hang out with y'all all day. I got plans to go spend some money with a Black business. I'm supposed to meet a buddy of mine at Uncle Bobby's at 2:30. If anybody's from Philly, Uncle Bobby's is the coffee shop that is owned by Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. And for some reason, it keeps getting vandalized. So I wanted to go buy a cup of coffee, shout out to them, and maybe buy some merch for them as well. So Ms. Edith says, I love Shark Tank for exposure. Many people laughed off the show are now millionaires. Yeah, they are. A lot of people also getting their feelings when they see some of these businesses ran off. I was in one of the groups on Facebook, and they said somebody like last Friday, Black company got ran off and they didn't get investment. And they were kind of upset. I like to remind folks, listen, we can't be mad at how folks invest their money. That's their money. Question is, what are we doing with our money? Are we supporting them? Are we investing in them? Are we driving traffic to these stores? The only people that's going to save us is us, y'all. So we can't get mad at other folks about what they do or what they don't do. All right, so Pretty Kelly says use facts. Pretty Kelly says something most people don't know is when you agree to be on the show, you automatically fork over 15% of your company to the actual Shark Tank brand. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Thank you, Kelly. That's huge. Miss Edith says I just schooled her with Fenty and LVMH. Well, thank you. I'm just here just trying to do my part. No more, no less. I do keep millennials in my life. I'm going to tell you, I argue with millennials all the time, but I argue with them in love, so I never put them down. I never call them lazy. I see millennials, y'all, as current day baby boomers. People don't want to talk about that, right? Y'all want to talk about how the baby boomers was flower power and how they was having orgies and all kind of get high parties and didn't want to work for the man and rejected the war, right? They were very obstinate against the older society. Nobody wants to talk about that. But then when you look at millennials right now, what are they? They're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff. They want to take life by control, and they want to live life, and they just don't want to be subject to working for demand all their life. And I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Are some of their stuff a little off base? Yes. But guess what? There's some baby boomers, there's some Gen Xers that are off base. I find that most of us don't read. And when I say yes, I'm talking about Black community. This is a family conversation. So a lot of us aren't reading. We aren't putting things in proper context. We aren't reading multiple sources on a topic. I can't tell y'all how many people I've seen talk about people that have done research on Trump and done research on Biden and kind of arrived at the same conclusion. And I'm like, what the hell are you reading? You know, I've got a lot of people will call me, my clients will call me and say, Kamar, I don't see the bad policies that Trump did. I say, what do you mean? I can give you 3 right off the top of my head, right? Immigration, throwing babies in cages. The man literally threw babies in cages intentionally and then tries to skew it and says that Obama built the cages. Well, guess what? If you have a gun and you shoot a gun, are you going to blame Smith & Wesson for you shooting the gun? Like, so we fall for stuff, and I be hearing Republican and Donald Trump talking points all the time, but it's like, did we think this through, y'all? Are we really thinking, right? If anything else, right? I just want people to think, and I can't tell you to think. I don't even want you to necessarily agree with me. I just want you to think, because at the end of the day, the best idea should win, not the biggest mouth, not the most popular, but the best idea. I know that is not society at large. I know that is not Black society at large, but that is what I hope for. That is what I hope for. All right. Word of Juan Doctor or Dr. Juan, how are you? Leo Lady says yes to the millennials. Kaylana says they were raised by boomer grandparents. How about that? A lot of Kaylana, you make a great point. A lot of them were actually raised by boomer grandparents. You are telling the truth. All right. I'm trying to catch up with the comments. I don't want anybody to feel left out. All right. At the school. Okay. Yes, keep some millennials in your life. Okay. Alton says, I actually have no TV. Threw one away, gave the other one away. I believe it's a distraction. So a couple of years ago, I did away with that. Hey, amen to you. I'll probably always have a TV, but I'm the guy who I only want to have a TV in like a sitting area or maybe a movie room. I don't want to have a TV in my bedroom or anything else. I do think it's a waste of life. I think it's a great distraction. People don't focus on or aren't present with folks when they have TVs around. Look at your family outings. Anytime a football game is on Thanksgiving, everybody is in tune with football. Listen, please don't come for me, all my football fans out there. I'm just saying that the people who are next to you, around you, are more important than the people that are on the screen. And I just always have made that observation, even when I was a child. It's like more people are interested. And full confession, full honesty, sometimes that's me too, right? But I am at least trying to be conscious of the decisions I make. I try, y'all. All right, Kelly says that's why people are so scarce, and really think when they're given an offer because they're giving up an additional 15%. So Kelly, let me read that again because I totally bumbled that. That's why people are so scarce and really think when they're given an offer because they're giving up an additional 15%. Yeah, that's crazy. And so, yep, it's a business. Yep, it is. It is. And businesses are in the business of making money. All right, so Ms. Adrian says, I'm Gen X. And I'm Gen X, and I call you Miss Adrian. I'm going to keep calling you Miss Adrian, too. I like the ring of it. And my spirit is still working on millennials. They all right. They just got to get some real life responsibilities. Wait till the winter's coming, right? So wait till that high-ass or that electric or high-ass gas bill comes through. And they get hit with enough of them. They go like, put a sweater on. That's why it's best to fund your own business. Amen to that, Kelly. Amen to that. Amen to that. Miss Edith says, tell them, Kamari, talk about it. We do the same thing, just no proof. Thank God, no cameras, no social media. Yeah, that's real. That's real. Miss Edith said, did. Oh, scared. Yes, Kelly, you are correct. All right, well, let's get back to this. So I'll keep y'all folks too long. Listen, you are watching the Finance Rebel Show. I'm Kamari Ellis. I'm the host. My whole aim and objective here is to try to break money down, make it simple for you, increase the financial IQs of people in the Black community, and make it cool to talk about money, because our community, we really don't talk about money, y'all, for the most part, right? So when you're at the cookout, we might talk about the new car that we got, and we got some great financing. We got a credit card, it's great financing, but we're not talking about what really fuels wealth. And what really fuels wealth are assets. Owning assets, leveraging assets, controlling assets. So those are the conversations we have to talk about. All right, so do me a favor, share this out with anybody who is interested in that type talk. If they want to talk about controlling their assets, reducing their taxes, making better investment decisions, this is the show to watch every Saturday at noon. And also don't forget about Wealthy Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. All right, so Black folks like aspiration and their consumer journey. I'm not going to read through all of this, but y'all know what this is about, right? Here they talk about Bevel, as Bevel being a shaving system geared towards men of color and Black-owned business success story, which launched in 2013 and in 2019 was purchased by Procter & Gamble. So again, do y'all see the wordplay? And Tristan Walker was the founder of Bevel. And yes, he sold to Procter & Gamble. I'm not mad at that. It's no longer Black owned though. He might have some percentage of it, but it's Black controlled. It's white controlled or corporate controlled or PWI controlled, primary white institution controlled. It's no longer Black owned. And again, I think Bevel's great. They did a lot of great things in the beginning. So, no diss to them, but I wouldn't say it's Black owned. As information and availability of Black-owned brands and Black-focused products increases, 42% of African-American adults expect brands they purchase to support social causes, 16% more than the total population. This social consciousness should demand that marketers of goods and services understand that not only the benefit of supporting African-American social causes, but also the risk of not supporting them. So I have thoughts about this. What's up, Chili? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yep, we talked about it, the new president-elect, but we know it's going to be a rocky road because this is going to go to the Supreme Court. Don't ask me if the case is going to be valid or not, but it's going to the Supreme Court. But going back to this, right? We want brands to support our communities and support social causes. I'm cool with that. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm really more cool with. I'm more cool with them diversifying their supplier chain or having supplier chain diversity. That's the actual term, meaning that they use Black folks, right? Because again, Black folks always get lost in the sauce when we talk about diversity. We always get lost in the sauce when we talk about POC or people of color. Nobody thinks about Black folks. So, it's always someone else. So to be clear, I'm talking about Black folks. We always get lost in these diversity supplier chain things. But that to me would be cool. Spend more money with Black businesses, get more Black vendors, right? Also, hire more Black folks. There's a lot of Black geniuses out there that had the opportunity could really turn around many of these corporations and make them even better. I was watching Charlemagne the guy from the Breakfast Club the other day, and he said that anytime you have too much mayonnaise, the sandwich tastes bad. But he said if you have more fruit, or not fruit, but if it's just enough, right, and you have some diversity in that sandwich, it makes it taste a lot better. So, his point was all white stuff usually doesn't produce the best products. I mean, that was the gist of it all, and I thought it was hilarious. And only a way that Charlemagne could do it. All right. But again, talking about this and these social causes, I mean, again, I think that's cool. But again, I would love for them to actually put their money where their mouth is. And we're starting to see that now. That's why you're seeing a lot of the pandering to Black folks because of all the rioting that happened at the George Floyd. Companies want to make sure their dollars in their bank accounts are protected so that Black folks don't stop spending with them. So that's why they're pandering right now. All right, so with the number of highly visible African American success stories increasing, marketers should note that these proud images and role models and the ambition to achieve success are being reflected in purchasing decisions. And the women's business clothing category, African Americans over-index the total population in items brought in the last 12 months at all price points. 58% of African Americans respond positively to the statement. My goal is to make it to the top of my profession, which surpasses the total population by 31%. Black consumers are 40% more likely to agree with the statement. I strive to achieve high social status than is the total population, and they are willing to work for it. Since the data shows that they are 14% more likely to agree with that statement, I don't mind giving up my personal time to work than is the total population. There are, so listen, full transparency, I totally agree with that statement. I also recognize the issues in that statement. So we spend all our time working and we're not focused on family. And we don't think about family. And a lot of times we spend all our time working. We don't think about health. Health is wealth, y'all. Don't forget that. So, we had to be very careful with that. Again, in my opinion, these thoughts are mine. They're no one else's, right? So I don't necessarily expect y'all to concur or agree with me, but just hear me out and think about it and just ponder it. The most powerful thing we can do, in my opinion, is think. All right, so the rise of TV, they talked about that. Let me get back to it here. The rise of TV, popular radio formats, the power of hip hop and beyond. Hip hop is very, very powerful. We've known that since Run DMC told everybody to take their Adidas off and put them up in the air. If you're not hip hop or you're not old enough to know that, Run DMC basically made Adidas. Michael Jordan made Nike. We don't always get our fair share. So let's look at this African American focused media spend. So here we are seeing the majority of the spend is on cable TV. We're seeing digital. Digital is only a small makeup. National magazines and network TV, and some syndicated TV. So they know what we watch, and they know how to find us. So here it talks about non-diverse, missing the mark. African American focused brand spending. So Procter and Gamble spends over $500 million on African American media, or directed towards African American media. Berkshire Hathaway, that's the company that Warren Buffett created, spends over $350 million on African American media or African American focused media. Pfizer, the drug company, again, $350 million. AT&T, a little under $300 million. GlaxoSmithKline, $215 million. Yum Brand is KFC, y'all. So that's the chicken. Y'all see they spending money to get us to eat chicken. By the way, I don't have a problem with chicken. I know some black folks who won't eat chicken nor watermelon in front of white folks. I'm not that type of guy. I like chicken and I like watermelon. But, it's all good. It's food. It's food. Oh, oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. All right. Progressive, Walt Disney, all these folks spend money to get black folks in the door to spend money with them. That's interesting. I do wonder, though. I do wonder how many of them spend money with black businesses, though. Comcast is here in Philadelphia. If y'all remember, Byron Allen had to take Comcast to court about programming and getting his shows on Comcast. So that shows you a lot. By the way, again, this report was done in 2019. All right, so here are some takeaways. I thought this point was good. So, takeaways: African Americans are adopting new devices and multiple devices at higher rates. All right. Radio has the highest weekly reach of any media platform among adult African Americans at 92%. All right. Three, Facebook has the highest reach of social media apps with Black folks being at 66%. Facebook owns Instagram. A lot of people don't realize that. Facebook owns Instagram. All right. However, reaches 45% of African Americans, surpassing the total population by 20%. Okay. African Americans are more likely than the total population to agree that advertising provides them with meaningful information about the product use of other consumers on most platforms. Let me read that again, y'all. That didn't sound good at all. African Americans are more likely than the total population to agree that advertising provides them with meaningful information about the product use of other consumers on most platforms, including on mobile phones, which is 42%, on radio, which is 21%, and is on internet. So y'all know I love a good Black-owned business. So when we think about this, why do I love a good Black-owned business? I love a good Black-owned business because Black businesses are responsible for most of the hiring in the Black community. Again, Black businesses are responsible for most of the employment in the Black communities. And people always ask, well, why don't we spend more money with Black-owned businesses? Well, a lot of times we have a marketing / advertising problem because people don't know about them a lot of times. So, as business owners, if there are any business owners in the audience or side hustlers or solopreneurs, keep that in mind. A big reason why many of our businesses don't get the shine, don't get the highlight, is because we haven't figured out a way to make our story a part of the overall national narrative. Now, you saw with that vegan lipstick, lip bar, right? They figured out a way to get it. They got on Shark Tank, and then they got picked up by Target, and were able to distribute their money, their brands, right? So one thing I learned from my mentor many, many years ago: a company is never a company unless it is able to distribute its products and services. It has to have a way to have a distribution channel. Every company has to have a distribution channel. What is your distribution channel, right? That's something all Black-owned businesses should be thinking about. What's your distribution channel? Are you heavily sales focused, right? Do you have a large sales force? Are you a salesman of one, right? Because a lot of us are solopreneurs. It's just us, so we have to figure out how to do everything, right? So do you have to get in front of a customer, get eyeball to eyeball and belly to belly with them in order to sell your product or service? Okay, so what do you need to do to see more people? All right, are you more marketing driven? Are you going to create content, more content driven? Are you able to make compelling content that make people buy into your story, buy into you, and then get to you? How are you thinking about it? A lot of our businesses are still not on social media. We're on there personally, but our businesses are not on social media. So what are we going to do about this? Especially since there's so much business being done on social media. So, you got to think about that. All right. So African-American at the point of purchase. The pre-store influences of African-American consumers, recommendations from people, digital ads, coupons, and overall requests, attitudes and behaviors at the point of purchase. So here's a question: attitudes towards locally sourced food categories. Question: thinking of how you define local, how important it is to you to buy local for each of the following categories you shop for. So A is extremely important. So produce is of importance. Bakeries, prepared foods, eggs, dairy, seafood, meat, deli cheese, deli meat, frozen foods, shelf stable. All right. So all the stuff that we can buy, that we eat, that we consume, we want to pretty much buy it local. Hey, Kelly. Speaking of Black businesses, Kelly, you just came in the room. Shout out to Kelly's Closet, the largest plus size lingerie company in the country. Kelly's Closet is doing their thing. Nisi, how are you? Welcome. All right. So concerns about food, hot topics, pesticides is one of them. Antibodies. I think us as Black folks should definitely be thinking about the food that's in our body. Food, your let thy food be thy medicine. Let thy food be thy medicines. So the better our diet, the better our health, the better our health, the better our wealth. Don't be afraid to think about what you're putting in your mouth, y'all. All right, so going through more pre-store consumers or I'm bumbling all that up. Pre-store influences. So here's just another chart. I'm not going to believe all that. This is interesting. So Angela Rye, I'm a big fan of Angela Rye. I love how she brings the smoke on a political commentary point. Talks about the power of black dollars. All right, so for nearly a decade, Nielsen's Diverse Intelligence Series has provided leading research on the consumer habits, lifestyle trends, and media preferences of Black folks. In previous years, Nielsen has sought to engage community stakeholders to lend a voice to the changes that are impacting Black folks. I don't know if I agree with that totally. I think they're kind of giving people the cheat code on how to sell to Black folks, not necessarily the cheat code for Black folks to make more money, but that's a whole other conversation. I'm thankful for the information that they put out so we can at least know what's going on with us. All right, so Angela Rye's commentary. I've been a fan of Nielsen's reports since they first came out in 2011. I find them incredibly relevant to ensuring a more level playing field when it comes to the American ecosystem. Smart companies are making multicultural segments a priority now. Smart companies recognize that multicultural consumers have almost $4 trillion in collective buying power. And smart companies are seeking out opportunities to claim these consumers to help drive sales, growth, and profits in a variety of consumer product categories. I like I said, to me, it's not helping us to get to more money. It's helping the big brands get more money out of us, if that makes sense. Type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense to y'all. Tina, how are you? Martin Weary, how are you? Hey, Martin, how you been? The tax season kick your butt. You ready for tax season 2021? So again, going back through these topics, we're talking about Black spending versus Black wealth, right? All right. So Leo Lady says it makes sense. Kelly's Closet says it makes sense. Does it make sense to y'all on YouTube and Facebook? Or am I talking gobbledygook? Too much jitter jatter. All right. And again, the reason why I say I feel it's a cheat code to get more Black money is because most of these corporations are multi-billion dollars in sales. Most Black businesses are not, right? Most Black businesses are still scraping and surviving, trying to figure out how to do it. And actually, I think that's a good thing, right? Because that brings out creativity. However, it still shows that there's an unfair competitive advantage. And you have a couple companies that sprinkle about, and again, no diss to them, sprinkled around, but there's a lot of good companies out there. Like for me, I still have not forgiven Dove, because I was a lifelong user of Dove, for that ad campaign that they did with the Black lady turning herself white. Some people say I'm being overly critical, and I'm like, I'm cool with that. I'd rather just find a Black person to buy soap from. And that's what I've been doing for the last, 2 to 3 years, 4 years, something like that. Unilever, who owns Dove, has got enough money. I need to put more money in my community. So, all right. So again, I don't want to bore y'all with this. I'm just trying to find. And I had a whole outline. I printed this out, went through it, but I left it in my car. All right. So let me go back to this real quick. So the power of the Black dollar. All right, we see Blacks spend $1.1 billion, $1.04 billion on shelf-stable juices and drinks. All right, the total spend of that is about $6 billion. So we make up about 16% of that. We spend $829 million on detergent. Shout out to True Detergent, Black-owned detergent. All right, we're 14% of that category. Bottled water, we spend $810 million on bottled water. Frozen and unprepared meat, we spend $761 million. By the way, I always wonder how the hell do they tabulate this information? All right. I don't know. I'm just telling you that this is kind of one of the industry approved sources. Refrigerated juices, we spend roughly $575 million. Personal soap, we spend roughly $75 million. We're 18% of that market overall. Spices and seasonings, we spend $430 million. 16%. Now I was expecting us to dominate that channel because y'all know we don't like no bland food. Household cleaners, 400 million. Shorting oil, again, 350 million. I was expecting that to be higher too. Insecticides and repellents, 176 million. Women's fragrances, 152 million. Cookware, 132 million. We spend $122 million on gum. I guess fresh breath matters. Men's toiletries, 62 million. Ethnic hair and beauty aids, 54 million. Now, 54 million. Now, the total spend in that category is 63 million. We spend 85% of the spend in that category. We spend 85% of the money spent on ethnic hair and beauty aids, which is to be expected because they said ethnic hair. They didn't say hair. They said ethnic hair. All right. Feminine hygiene, 54 million, which is 21%. Shout out to, what is it? Honey Pot, I think it is. Charcoal logs and accessories, 45 million. We should be dominating hair care. So if we spend $54 million in there, I wonder, do we get 25% of that? Matter of fact, Black folks make up roughly 14% of the population. So what is 14% of 54 million? Can anybody give me that? Oops, wrong one, y'all. Bear with me for 1 second. So 14% of 54 million is roughly $7.5 million. I don't know that we generate $7.5 million in revenue from our sales in hair. I know folks are killing it with the weaves. I know our sisters are killing it in hair salons. I don't know if we're making 7.5 million nationwide over that. And when I say the hair salons, I'm talking about the sisters that sell products out of the hair salon, their own products. That would be a lovely thing. That would be a lovely thing. Okay, top baby care products for African American households. Store brands, we like our store brands for that. I need my glasses, y'all. Pediasure, Pull-Ups, Huggies, Similac. We spend a lot. Loves, Pampers. Okay. All right. So the top 20 high indexing African American grocery products. All right. So if anybody saw Dr. Umar and he said, give him the grit money, this is what he's referring to, y'all. All right. This is what he's referring to. So Quaker, right? Grits. Quaker sells a bunch of stuff too. But allegedly is $19 million in the Black community spent on grits. $19 million, y'all. So yeah, give me y'all grit money too. All right. Louisiana fish fry products. All right. We spent $11 million. Glory Foods. Now I think Glory is Black owned. So that's $7 million roughly right there. Jay's potato chips, $2.6 million. Again, Quaker Grits. I don't know why Quaker Grits is on here twice, but I'm guessing it's another grits product. $2.6 million. And let me make sure that this is millions, because sometimes they might add the zeros on there. And let me read this. So top 20 high indexing African American grocery products versus general market. African Americans over index in spending in a number of categories, as the table below demonstrates. It does not reflect the totality of the consumer's taste. Black consumers have an affinity for fresh food, fruits, and vegetables In fact, 61% excuse me. In fact, 61% identify produce as the most important category to buy local, followed by bakery, prepared foods at 56%, eggs at 55%, and dairy at 52%. We don't need no dairy, y'all. They lied to us about the food chain. Ain't nothing good about no damn dairy. But I digress. All right, so Glory Foods, Tahiti, wait a minute. Tahitian treat, we spend that much money on Tahitian treats alone? I didn't see that the first time I went through this. Goya, we spend a lot of money on Goya. Minute Maid, we spend a lot of money on Minute Maid. These are sugary drinks. These are drinks that lead towards diabetes a lot of times. So, when you look, we can look at this from a couple of different lenses too, y'all. Right? I say health is wealth, right? But we could also see it. We could probably find correlation between our top products and our medical issues as well. And again, health is wealth. So we had to be very, very mindful of that. Now, here's something I find very interesting. Why in-store shopping still matters. Now, everybody always says that bricks and mortar is dead, retail shopping is dead, and I tell folks all the time, online shopping still is only somewhere between 5 and let's say 8% of overall sales. That trend is gaining. We are seeing a major shift to online, but the majority of money is still spent offline. All right, so here it says why in-store shopping still matters. More than half, 52% of African-American consumers find the physical shopping experience to be relaxing, outpacing the total population by a very significant 26%. They are more impacted than others by engagement with in-store personnel, advertisements, and merchandising. 55% say that they enjoy wandering the store looking for new, interesting products, creating an in-store opportunities. Kelly, don't get no ideas. Yeah, Kelly, I do think those numbers were billions, but I didn't see the footnote there. I'll go back and look real quick. And yeah, Kelly, again, don't get no ideas. Creating in-store opportunities for Black consumers to touch, feel, and try new products while shopping could be essential to building long-term loyalty. You build relationships with touching, feeling on people. Don't get no dirty ideas, y'all. But getting eyeball to eyeball, letting people touch your product, feel your product, it matters. It does matter. And I don't think it just matters to Black folks. I think it matters to people overall. I do see a lot of times that we try to share these memes that say Black folks shop differently than other folks. I don't think so for the most part. I haven't seen it. All right, some luxury retailers have an African-American fan base who say they are more likely to shop at high-end stores, including Saks. It's funny, I just talked to my friend yesterday. She loves Saks, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, Black woman, Black high-income woman loves Saks, loves Nordstrom's, loves Lord & Taylor's. So Nordstrom's and Bloomingdale's. Black consumers are more likely than the total population to agree, I am willing to pay extra for a product that is consistent with the image I want to convey, by 20%. And say clothes made by fashion designers are more appealing. Luxury spending doesn't stop at clothes. Black consumers are spending upwards of $500 on handbags and costume jewelry at a higher rate than the total population. Shout out to, I want to say it's Sachi Jones, who sells costume jewelry and is a Black-owned business and it's killing the game. All right. Man, that is correct. Now, Kelly pointed something to me that I kind of keyed in on real quick. So let me go back and look. I think the numbers that I was stating, I was understating them because I said million. And I do believe these facts are in the billions. But I didn't, usually there's a footnote if the numbers are in thousands, right? So then you add 3 zeros behind every number, or if they're in millions and you add 6 zeros behind all of them. I didn't see that. By the way, That's a key takeaway for financial reporting on major stock companies. All right. When you see those annotations, they will also reflect how you should be looking at them in the millions or the billions. Because if I were to add, if we would go by thousands, so I'm gonna go by thousands in this one, right? So then that means grits are 19 billion. We are buying $19 billion in grits. So I definitely see why Dr. Umar was like, give me the grit money, because it's $19 billion in grits. All right. And so let me just check in with everybody real quick. All right. All right. Miss Tiffany says she's following what I'm putting out. Chili said he's following it. Hey, Angela, how you doing? Welcome. You like the EA portion of my name? Yes, thank you. That means I'm an enrolled agent with the IRS, so I can help people solve their tax problems in all 50 states, so I can handle their tax matters. And I talk a lot about tax because I feel tax is the biggest enemy of wealth. Because the more money you give to the government, the less money you have to reinvest into your business or your investments or your family, whatever it may be. Chili says the government can help us. Elaborate on that for us, Chili, or did you already? Can we ever make someone accountable, government, business? Like if we're spending, can we campaign for more grants and loans? That's not really part of today's conversation, Chili. But I'll get to you as I'll wrap this up. We need to find a way back into the hair care industry and take it back. I agree with that. Online spending for me because people, you don't like people. People don't want to wear their mask. We got all these super spreaders. By the way, folks, COVID has not disappeared as the bull in the White House would have you think. It's still here. It's still a killer. It's still prevalent. Mask up, y'all. Mask up. Stay away from all these group gatherings. And that's not me being fearful. That's me wanting us to live. Because who is being affected by this virus the most? Black folks. All right. So Kelly, I think you're right. So let's go with billion on that. 19 billion in grits. 19 billion in grits. What would y'all do with $19 billion? I know what I would do. All right. So I want to talk about this real quick. All right. So section 2, these are the takeaways. African Americans love the latest trends and are more likely to try new products for the sake of variety and novelty by 30% versus the total market. Nearly 40% of Black consumers say they are the first among their friends to try new products and services, surpassing the total population by 29%. 52% of African American consumers find the physical shopping experience to be relaxing, outpacing the total population by 26%. So we're doubling people that go shopping online. Typically, people that go shopping in stores. Typically, African American consumers are more impacted in store than the total population, than things like store personnel, store advertisements, merchandising, creating in-store opportunities for African American consumers to touch, feel, and try new products, while shopping could be essential to building long-term loyalty. All right, African Americans are increasingly relying on the convenience of online shopping and are most likely to shop online if a coupon or promotional code for the site is available, surpassing the total population by 17% in the green. So I find it interesting that we're apt to shop online and in the stores a lot of times more than the overall total population. All right, so what do y'all think about this so far? We're almost done, and we are going to put a nice little bow on this and wrap this up, because again, I don't want to keep you all. We've been on here for almost 2 hours, and I appreciate you all being here, rocking out with me for so long. Listen, help me fight the algorithms. Help me fight the algorithms, because the algorithms be trying to keep me down. They don't want me to be great, y'all. So share this out. Share this with anybody who's interested in Black wealth, interested in making more money, interested in taking full power and control over their destiny as it relates to their finances. All righty. The Census Bureau. let's cover this real quick, y'all. All right, the Census Bureau. So through Nielsen, census measurement underpins 90 billion in advertising transactions and power decisions made by the country's biggest retailers and manufacturers that influence more than $1 trillion. So remember I said that this is really the cheat code for big business, for big retailers. And so black folks spend 1.3 trillion and companies are spending 90 billion to generate 1 trillion, 1T. They're getting a large majority of that. There's time for a shift, y'all. There's time for a shift. So, all right, going to the next page. So did you know 95% of homes in the country will receive letters with instructions by mid-March 2020? You will have the option to respond digitally for the first time or by phone for your paper forms. So this is talking about the census, all right, and why it's important for black folks to get in the census as well. In this context, it's important because then they know where more black people are. So they can target them better. I mean, from a political standpoint, though, it's also important too, because of all the shenanigans that go on with gerrymandering, where people are, they do a lot of that. And representation definitely matters. All right. Let me find this. Again, I only want to go over the biggest points. The growing consumer base. Black folks are a significant and rapidly growing population growth in the U.S., estimated to be 47.8 billion people in 2018. By 2060, that population is estimated to grow by 27% to over 60 million. So they're estimating us to grow to 60 million by 2060. 60 and 60. All right. So again, as we scroll through this, what are y'all thoughts about this? Do you think it matters about black spending habits as it relates to black wealth? What do y'all think? The man of your dreams, how you doing? Welcome. That's a hell of a name too. All right, so top states for African American population. Number 1 is Texas, 3.7 million. Number 2 is Florida, 3.6 million. Number 3 is Georgia. Oh my mind. 3.4 million. New York is 3.4 million. Most of the people in New York are in New York City. California is 2.7. North Carolina is 2.3. Illinois is 1.9. Maryland is 1.9 million. Virginia is 1.7 million. And Louisiana is 1.5 million. I think that's very important to highlight that most black folks are not in the North. They are in the South. And when I say the South, I'm using the Mason-Dixon line as the line of demarcation as the South. So keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind. So if you are a black brand, right? Because I'm looking at this through the lens of how do we reverse engineer this and use this as one intel for us to maybe change our behavior and our habits, and 2, how can we use this to generate bigger businesses, better businesses, right? So Kelly's on. I'm gonna pick on Kelly. All right. So if Kelly wanted to blow up her brand, again, she's already the largest, but maybe it makes sense for Kelly to have a retail presence in Texas, Florida, Georgia, not New York, but because rent's so high in New York. The rent's too damn high in New York. California, the rent's too damn high in California too. But North Carolina, Illinois, maybe Maryland, the rent's pretty high in Maryland. The rent's pretty high in Virginia, or maybe Louisiana, right? So we can look at this, the way I look at it, right? Where can you get the most bang for your buck and have attraction or have people that are in your community buy your stuff? So if we had a business, bricks and mortar is what I'm talking about, in Texas and Florida and Georgia, and maybe in Louisiana, that might be good money. That might be a great way to roll out a strategy going forward. Mr. Almecki, how are you, sir? Welcome. We're talking about black spending versus black wealth here. And so again, I like to look at these reports and think about how can we reverse engineer these to our benefit. I mean, information's out there. It doesn't behoove us to just try to follow suit like everybody else and do what everybody else is doing. We got to look at it from our perspective, from an entrepreneurial and a business perspective, and also through a Black lens, right? Okay, so largest metro concentrations of Black folks too, right? So we all know these: the New York area, the Atlanta area, the Washington area, the Chicago area, Miami, Florida, Houston, Dallas. I didn't know Dallas was one. Los Angeles, Detroit. So those, you might even want to think about having a physical retail location in those areas as well, if it makes sense. And, you want to look at the two or look at this and say, well, again, where can I get the biggest bang for my buck? If all of your online buyers are in New York, yeah, it might make sense to open up a store in New York. If you've got a large following in Dallas, it might make sense to open up a physical location in Dallas. So, we have to think about those things. Okay, the impact of growing college enrollment. Now, I am really shocked by that because there's such an anti-college sentiment in our communities right now because of the cost increase in college, and it's definitely through the roof. The one thing I always think about though is seeing all this anti-college rhetoric is, who do we plan on having in the key positions that run society? Who are we going to have as our lawyers, as our doctors, as our engineers, and our architects? Where do Black folks usually get abused? Medical, law, housing, right? We need all those people in those positions. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? It would behoove us to maybe think about different ways and collective ways for us to send our children to college. Again, if they have the aptitude for it, if they have the indication for it. I don't necessarily believe that everybody should go to college. However, I don't believe that a lot of the people that say they don't want to go to college because they're not college material are actually not college material. Again, I don't believe that all these people that say that they're not college material are not college material. I believe somewhere along the lines in public school or in their family that somebody told them that they weren't smart, that they weren't scholarly in whatever way they shape, form, or fashion, that they couldn't be a higher learner. That's what I believe. That's why I'm so pro college. We have a lot of genius in our areas with our children. And a lot of times you're not going to see that genius really harnessed unless they go to a college. And it could be HBCU, right? In mathematics. Again, most of our engineers, a lot of our doctors, a lot of our lawyers, they come out of HBCUs. So, these are things that we really got to start giving real thought behind instead of just reciting the surface level things. College is too high and student loans are too high. But as a people, we need more lawyers, right? That's very, very clear. When you look at, again, when I was talking about that trifecta of the Stacey Abrams, of the Keisha Bottoms, of Stacey Abrams, Keisha Bottoms, even Kamala Harris, a lot of them, two out of the three I know are lawyers. Stacey Abrams is a lawyer, a lawyer, and Kamala Harris is a lawyer, and they're able to do some great things. I'm not sure about Keisha Bottoms, but they all were HBCU made. They all came out of HBCUs. So, we got to really start thinking critically about this and coming up with strategies to overcome a lot of these obstacles that we face. All right, so the impact of growing college enrollment, the percentage of African-American high school graduates immediately ending in higher education continues to rise, reaching 63.1% in 2016 to 2018, up from 62.7% in 2013 to 2015. In particular, Black female high school graduates have increased immediate enrollment in college from 63.6% to 68.9%. That is a big jump. That's one of the reasons why we're seeing so many Black women entrepreneurs too. There is definitely a correlation there. Remember, I said I want y'all to start thinking about correlation more as it relates as to analyzing data. There's a correlation there. So over the same time period, in 2007, 45.2% of adults 18 plus Blacks had completed at least some college. In 2017, that number grew to 54.3% of all Black adults. Not only in enrollment increasing, but the population with a bachelor's degree or higher is increasing. This increase in education should continue to positively impact employment and income numbers for the African American community. Now, I know all y'all going to say, well, I don't want no college loans. College loans, college debt is the devil. However, the data still bears out that people with degrees make more money than everybody else. That's what the data says. That's not what Kamari says. That's not what the Finance Rebel says. That's what the data says. Y'all can challenge the data if y'all don't like the data. All right. So, again, is this all making sense to y'all? All right. Tiffany says, yes, it makes a difference. We can have our own economy if we get together and build with each other. Tiffany also says, if we do the research, there's so much money for Black, so much more or money for Black money to spend to send us to school, but we don't want to write the paper to do the research. I would agree. A Fake Cookie, what's up, Danielle? How you doing? My FLC Bobcat is in the house. So there is a lot to this. All right, now this is interesting. This is interesting. Geographic distribution of Black American buying power. Where do we see it? The biggest populations are in those same countries that people are in, or in counties and states where people are in. New York, 110. When you look at Texas, 117, right? We know Texas has the biggest population of Black folks, the biggest population of people in the country, period, point blank. We know New York has the biggest populated city in the area, right? So there, again, there's a correlation. There's that C word again. The average annual household expenditure for Black households is $43,000. $43,000. So again, y'all, it's looking like the South could be it. Now, I ain't trying to say we should move, but maybe we need to think about how we get to business opportunities in the South. I mean, time don't sleep and money waits for no one. So, as again, these three takeaways, I definitely wanted to talk about that. Black Americans are a significant and rapidly growing population in the U.S., estimated at 47.8 million people in 2018. I was still at 40 million. All right. And expected to grow 32% to over 60 million in 2016. Black Americans are also among the youngest. 28% of Blacks are under 18, compared to 23% of all Americans. What does that tell y'all? Does anybody know what that tells you? SM Dennis 82, how are you? What does that tell you? That we have the youngest population. The percentage of African American high school graduates immediately enrolling in higher education continues to rise to 63.1% in 2016 to 2018, up from 62.7% and from 13 to 15. In particular, Black female high school grads have increased immediate enrollment in college from 63.6% to over 68.9% over the same time period. All right. Black buying power continues to grow from $320 billion in 1990 to $1.3 trillion in 2018. All right. Between 20,000 or 2000 in 2018, Black buying power rose by 114% compared to 89% increase in white buying power. Texas now tops the nations in Black buying power for Black folks along the population. Stephanie Taylor, how are you? Miss Leon, how are you? So when we think about this, y'all, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Now, I've been on here for almost 2 hours. I told you I got an appointment to go spend some of my Black dollars with a Black business. But what do y'all think? So here's what I think. All right, out of the 1.3 trillion, and I've saved this till the end. Out of the 1.3 trillion, we got to look at our banks. Our banks roughly have 5.5 billion in deposits. I told you that the other day. Seems like a misalignment. Seems like we should be putting more money in our banks. All right. Out of that $1.3 trillion that we spend, only 2% of our monies go into Black-owned businesses. So let me make it a little bit more simpler. For every $100 that we have, we only spend $2 with Black businesses. For every $100. For every $10 we have, we only spend like 20 cents with a Black business. We had to become more vigilant about spending money with our own people. Again, I know somebody's going to say at some point during a replay or inbox me and say, but there aren't no good black businesses. I call bullshit on that all day, every day. If y'all pay attention to me, I promote black businesses all the time. I have, and I will continue to. It's not a fad for me. It's not something popular to do. I like highlighting our folks who do great work. All right, but they're there. Black lawyers, black doctors, black accountants, black insurance people, black car salesmen. Like I said, we have True Detergent. We have eye doctors. We have all kinds of things. Let's not even talk about the tech. Let's not even talk about the apparel. I mean, I just talked about Kelly, who's always on my lives, and as an actual personal friend of mine. Again, she has the largest plus size lingerie company in the country. Kelly does. Right from here, Philadelphia, born and raised, black woman, super black woman, right? So we really don't have a whole lot of reason to spend outside the community for a lot of things. I know we can't do it for everything, but there's more things that are at our disposal to buy that are good products, that have great service, than we give credit for. And again, when I say we, I'm talking about the general we. I'm not talking about everybody in the audience. But we have to become fervent about, one, highlighting those people, and two, spending dollars with those people. So, we shouldn't be ashamed of spending money at black-owned businesses. We shouldn't be ashamed at going and promoting them as well. It's funny. There's a new restaurant in my town. I'm not going to give the name out. It's white owned. But he said, why is everybody promoting this business? There are black people promoting this business. There's white people promoting this business. I never see the same kind of fervor, the same kind of persistence isn't the word, but I don't see the same level of conviction with promoting these new hot spots as I do with our black-owned businesses. We need to keep that same energy for our black businesses. Now, listen, I'm not going to shame folks for going to other places and other businesses. I go to other places and other businesses too. I do, however, try to make a priority of going to black-owned businesses. But we need to keep that same energy. Take my energy and apply it to other black-owned businesses. All right. Alton said, don't forget Umi's Diapers. I didn't know that. Yeah. Umi's Diapers. I know there's another guy that has like a bamboo toilet paper company. I haven't tested it, y'all. Right. But again, we should at least be thinking about that to buy instead of going to folks that don't support our community directly. Now, there was a point in the presentation with the Nielsen African-American buying trends that talks about we like companies that are good with social platforms, are good with they're socially conscious, like quote unquote socially conscious. But here's the thing, if we spent that money with our own businesses, we could do that for ourselves. We don't need other folks giving us handouts, right? And so there's a difference between helping someone and giving them a handout. They're giving us a handout when they take 10 cents of the dollar that we spend with them and quote unquote put in our community. I don't even know if it's 10 cents. It's probably more like half a cent. So again, you got to think about all these things. And I know, a lot of times people try to throw the racist line, that R word on top of this. No, it's not. Nobody calls Jewish folks racist when they spend with their own. Nobody calls Irish folks racist when they spend with their own. We have to recognize what the data yields out. The data yields out that black-owned business is the greatest employer of black people. We know we have challenges working at other places a lot of times for various reasons. How are we going to change the dynamic and the complexion of our communities financially, right? Not complexion from a color standpoint. We have to spend money in our own communities because we know they're going to hire the people in our communities, right? 9 times out of 10. So those purchases, every time we purchase something, we are voting. We are giving our power to these companies that get to use it to, one, either build a better community for themselves or to hire whoever they want. We see that there's no black folks on the board of Nike, but black folks sure love Nikes and Jordans. I wonder how many people are on the board of Quaker Oats. We send black folks to spending $19 billion with Quaker Oats. Where's the Nana Oat Company? And I know it's not easy to start a large scale food production and distribution company, y'all. But we got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. So, I would say that we got to be more mindful. Again, I'll say it again. We have to be more mindful where we're spending our money, right? We also have to be more mindful of overspending our money, because a lot of the stuff we don't need, and we can actually invest it into our businesses, into our investments, right? That is not lost on me. You still have to do what's right for you and your family as well. We have to work in concert with our community, but listen, you can't have a community if you don't have a family or a home. Think about that. Think about the importance of savings. Most of us overspend. There's $14 trillion in consumer spending. I'm not sure what the black makeup is. I need to do some research on that. I'm sure it's pretty high. And when I say consumer spending, I meant to say consumer debt. There's $14 trillion in outstanding consumer debt. And that is credit card. How much do we have as a community of credit cards? That was probably spent at a white business and not a black business. So, we have to think about all those things, y'all. We got to think about all those things. We can't afford to just blindly just go down the street because it's more convenient. I was talking about my buddy Fred the other day, who always says the strength of the wolf is in the pack, right? A lot of times we've been fooled by this idea, this notion of Americanized individualism, where they say pull yourself up by the bootstrap, where you don't have shoelaces nor a boot nor a sole to put yourself on, and you out there walking around being barefoot. But Fred always tells a story about when he was in the hair business before, and some of his, I believe his distributors or wholesalers were Korean. He said they would drive literally 10 to 20 miles out of their way to go to a Korean restaurant. They would not stop. They would not pause. They would not spend their money at any other restaurant in between that 10 to 20 mile radius. They would go to that. That's the kind of energy we got to be on, y'all. We see why Koreans or many of the Asians have more political power, more financial power in this country than we do, because they concentrate their efforts. They focus. They focus on their people. They focus on their people's money. They focus on their people's livelihood and prospects. We got to do the same. There's nothing wrong with it. And listen, I don't want to get any inbox of saying, but I got white friends. You can have white friends. I got white friends too. That don't mean anything. Your white friends, if they really down with you, they'll go buy black too. They'll support black. I did a open letter a little while ago. I think it was like 9 things white people can do to help the black community. And I sent it out, and I solicited, I won't say solicited, but I said one way you can do it is you can support the organization that I'm in, and that's PABJ, Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. Don't you know I got, I think, over $3,000 or $4,000 in donations generated from that piece of media that I put out? It wasn't a lot, but that was from white folks that I got it from. 2 in particular that are my friends that send me business. So, again, this whole black-white thing really ain't about black-white. It's really about humanity. But we talk about it from the black and white lens because we see black folks getting discriminated against more so than non-black folks, right? So, again, don't hit me with this is racist talk. This is just survival talk at this point, because this group of human beings who happen to have melanin and carbon in their skin, who happen to be darker skinned than everybody else, continuously has been getting mistreated in this country for over 500 years. I don't expect the oppressor to automatically turn up one day and say, hey, I've been wrong all these years and I want to do right by you. They might do it, but I ain't expecting it. And I do believe the fastest way we'll get to it is by us concentrating our money to make sure we have stable households by not overspending, right? Y'all saw what they said. Black folks love these luxury brands. Ain't none of those luxury brands black owned. So we love these luxury brands. Again, ain't none of them black owned. A lot of them don't have black representation in employment. A lot of them don't have black representation in their biodiversity, right? Or their supply chain diversity. None. We gotta start thinking about that. So, that's all I got. All right, so just checking in before I check out. My man Mark Daniels from Wichita is in the house. My other Wichita connections here. Blacks have always been consumer driven. But if our dollars are not concentrated in our communities, we will never have the significant power to demand and seek change. Yeah, I agree. I don't know about the consumer driven. I would say, let's say after slavery, right? Because in slavery, we were not consumer driven. We couldn't buy, right? We could not buy. If you want to go to Jim Crow, our buying was restricted. We were forced to buy with ourselves, right? Then comes along civil rights, Brown versus the Board of Ed in Kansas. That's when we start to see desegregation, not integration. Integration never happened. Desegregation happened. And then we saw Black folks going and leaving and running and jumping to spend their money with white establishments. And there's a deeper thing, like all of this, I always tell y'all, all of this is very nuanced, very nuanced. All right. So again, there's no shame. I'm not pointing the fingers. I'm just talking about the facts and how it all reflects. And so, again, we started doing that, but we kind of forgot about our community. Nobody told us to just only go and spend money with white folks. Where's the balance at? Ask yourself the question again, where's the balance at? So I don't think we were really consumer driven then, but after we got affirmative action, Black folks could really start to get jobs, like real jobs, real paying jobs, then it happened. So, you got to remember, we are about 50 years out of this thing, and we still got a lot more to go. All right, so Ms. Edith says it's official. Do we have a new president? No, we do not have a new president yet. We have a new president-elect. 270 electoral votes in PA. That's right. Philly showed up. The Black vote showed up. Atlanta showed up. Detroit showed up. But they always say Black folks aren't a monolith. All right, so Adrian says these folks have built generational wealth with businesses in our communities and with our money. We send their kids to college. Yes, we do. We purchase their homes and allow them to acquire new businesses and fund their retirement with our dollars. Think about that. Thank you, Adrian. I want to read that again, y'all. These folks have built generational wealth with businesses in our communities. Jewish folks, Asian folks. You can go on. All right. So these folks have built generational wealth of businesses in our communities and with our money. We send their kids to college, purchase their homes, allow them to acquire new businesses, and fund their retirement with our dollars. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Please think about that. And then take action on it. All right. Yes, Miss Edith, they're definitely celebrating on the news, but the Cheeto head Hitler impersonator has already said he does not accept the election. He's not going to give a concession speech. We still have to go to January 21st or January 20th until the transition of power takes place. I know it's going to be a bumpy road the whole time. And I'm glad that Biden won. He was the clear choice. People talk about they're tired of making decisions on the lesser of two evils. Well, we have to make decisions all the time. Drink water, drink soda, drink water, drink beer. Date this 5'9" guy or date this 6'5" guy, right? We always are bound and always have to make decisions. It's no different there. Yeah, but yeah, Biden's the president-elect until January 20th. So transition of power is supposed to happen, but again, the bull that's in office is not going to yield to that. But again, look at that vote and how it breaks down. 50% of the country, right? We round off 50% of the country still is voting for a person who is pro racist policies, who is pro putting children in cages, who is pro banning Muslims, right? Who was cool with calling black folks that kneel sons of bitches, who's cool with saying that people from Haiti, other black folks, people from Africa, other black folks were from shithole countries, right? I mean, that says a lot, This guy was the guy who took out a full-page ad seeking for the death penalty of the Central Park Five and has not shown a glimmer or morsel of remorse whatsoever. So again, everybody's saying, well, they're both racist. Okay, I get that. I'm not even arguing that. But you at least want to vote for the person who's going to govern better. Has anybody paid attention to the Senate, who's been led by the president? Senate ain't been doing no work. All they've been doing is vetoing and passing down stuff or ignoring stuff and not getting it out of committee. The Senate did the same thing under Obama. Like, folks love to say Obama didn't do nothing for black folks, but nobody talks about all the black folks he was trying to put on federal courts or the black folks he was trying to put on the Supreme Court. Nobody talks about that. Again, we just love these superficial bullet points, sound bites. We gotta go deeper, folks. We gotta go deeper. We gotta get into the substance. We gotta get into the meat of the thing, so we can really make real moves. All right, folks. I talked y'all head off too much. I appreciate you all being here. Again, today was a great occasion. Let's keep it in context. We got more work to do, though, y'all. Think about this. Joe Biden is 77 years old. Kamala could be the next president very soon. If we look at statistically, that could happen sooner than later. So we could have another black president very, very soon. But with that said, I don't care about the race of a politician or elected official. We must always organize. We must always be able to mobilize, and we got to educate ourselves how to keep these elected officials accountable. We got to finance our own elected officials, and we got to vote for them. But voting is only one part of the process. However, it behooves the black community, who has been the most oppressed, the most abused, to take advantage of this, and take advantage of this in a very aggressive and persistent way. We need to make our presence known and heard. All right, folks, that's my time. I'm going to Uncle Bobby's. I'll see you all later. I appreciate you all being here. You will catch me tomorrow on the Black Wealth Project at 7 p.m. Again, the Black Wealth Project at 7 p.m. Again, I appreciate you all being here, and I'll see you tomorrow or next Wednesday when I do Wealthy Wednesdays at 8 p.m. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy this beautiful day. Bye-bye. See you, folks.